Hi, welcome to Clutter Bravado.
Yes, and it's the energy. It's not just about the stuff.
So we should probably just get into it, right?
Let's go.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Yes?
Yes, I had
Yes.
an amazing weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about it.
Well, you were here on Saturday night.
Yes.
I needed. So after the beginning of the year, the fires, we did help and we felt the community, but we didn't have anybody over, and
Yeah.
I was missing that a lot. So we had the opportunity for Alexandra's birthday to gather,
Yes.
and we made dinner. It was really nice to be with friends.
Yeah.
It felt
Yeah.
really good because a little bit of normalcy, maybe, I don't know. And yeah, I think that if there's one thing that I think I'm learning, is community is like the most important thing.
Yes. That it's not just community in the broad sense, but it's the close relationships
Yeah.
that you have with people that is
That
so
community,
valuable. That is so
that
important. Yeah.
Thai community that we
Yeah.
have, and I think it was really fun and it felt really good.
It did.
What
It
about
did.
you?
And also, wait, we need to talk about the food that you made because it was kind of unreasonable. It was 2 courses, or was it 3?
No, it was 2.
It was
I
2.
made the scallops with the asparagus puree. That was good.
You started with oysters, and then there were scallops, and then there was sea bass.
Hmm.
I feel sometimes like you are actively trying to spoil all of your friends. Like there's so much intention behind what you were making too. You had like an asparagus puree with the scallops that like balanced out. I don't know how to describe it. There was a perfect balance of flavors in that dish. And you were using different textures too, which I really appreciated. You know, you're just so intentional with the way that you cook and you put so much love into it. And I really appreciate that.
It's the one thing that we talked about it a little bit briefly is, the entertaining. I think that there's an energy that people feel with when you cook.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a little bit intangible. It's a little bit, it makes people happy. It's also that, for example, on Saturday night, we had someone who didn't do meat and
Yeah.
someone who was actually vegetarian. So
Yes.
to be able to think about them and be like, okay, that's what I can make and
Yeah.
make everybody happy. I think that everyone feels it.
And I think that you did an incredible job of that, of really accommodating for everybody too. Because you can have incredible food, whether you're vegan or vegetarian or
Right.
lactose intolerant or whatever it is. Yeah.
And it allowed, because the asparagus puree with the mushroom and, so it's a really nice vegetarian dish.
Yeah.
And I did a little bit of tofu. I don't know if that was any good. Sorry, Justin. But it was, nevertheless, that was a really good vegetarian dish.
Yeah.
And then I knew that the farro and black rice
It
mixed
was
together.
such an
that was
incredible
good.
combination. It was
Yeah.
so good.
That
It
was
so
Suzanne
good.
Goin. That
Yeah.
was, what's her name? AOC.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Shout out. It was, that combo was
Yeah.
to die for, the pea
Yeah.
shoots. It was really fun.
It was really lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to do some cool things this weekend too.
What did you do?
I mean, granted, yes, I did like have a wonderful dinner here. But I've had the opportunity to see a bunch of my friends. And then also last week was really challenging. I just had a lot of things that were going on that were sort of unprecedented. And something that always brings me back to my center and really helps me to ground is to spend time in nature. And I went to the Huntington Botanical Garden. Is that what it's called? The Huntington Gardens. And had the most incredible time there. I've been there before. I went there with a friend. This time, being able to go and just like have a quiet experience. This is something that maybe you don't know about me, but I love trees. I love
mentioned that
trees.
before.
I may have mentioned that before. I love trees, and I think that they're absolutely majestic. It's one of the most beautiful things on earth is like giant. There's so many different shapes and they're so diverse, and so going there and seeing my favorite tree, which is a banyan tree, they have a few of them there in the subtropic garden, and I I just got a chance to really connect and just to remember that I am something that is so small. Like really just a part of this big, beautiful earth, and that any problems that I'm dealing with or any of the feelings that I'm having, everything is temporary. I really needed that grounding experience. And I absolutely love like the Chinese and Japanese gardens that they have there. I mean, it's stunning. It's stunning, and it's so beautifully crafted.
And it was a nice day yesterday, right?
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
Yeah. It was a beautiful day yesterday. It was really the perfect time to go. So getting to do that was really amazing. And then there was the architecture there. It's
I heard.
like neoclassical art and statues in the gardens. And I needed that. It really filled up my heart, and it really helped me to stay grounded and to allow myself to start an entirely new week, like shed of all of the heaviness of last week. And yeah, it kind of excited. I've heard some people say also that we're starting the new year February 1st. Like we're letting the rest of it sort of be a wash. Yeah. Also, I don't know if we're going to be able to see this in frame. Maybe there's a little bit of, you can hear it a little. My sweet dog is here today. I decided to bring him. You used to have dogs.
Yes.
And so you're used to having dogs here, and you've been begging me to bring my dog here. So I decided to bring him here today.
Getting a tiny bit of dog fix, which is nice.
He might be like just out of frame. Maybe I'll show a little bit of him, but he's just wandering around, just exploring the showroom. Not allowed to get on the sofa.
Right. A few rules. We do have an incredible guest coming up today, but before we get to that, did you need to plug anything else? Well, one thing is that we are releasing this on, the towards the 20th of January, but 3 weeks later, it's Modernism show. The Modernism show. So
okay.
we will be part of that.
We should talk about the things that we have coming up. So we do have the Modernism show
in Palm Springs.
And I mean, that's the first time that I'm going to be going. I am very excited for it. We're doing a lot of work there. Yeah. And that is something that I am excited for. I'm a little
nervous.
Yes. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little intimidated about it, but from everything that I've heard, it's a lot of people from LA are coming out there. A lot of people from our network will be there. We're going to have an opportunity to sit down with Jamie Rummerfield and Ron Woodson again. But both of them together to talk about Save Iconic Architecture and what they're doing out in Palm Springs and with Modernism. Getting to do some home tours, which I'm very excited about. I don't want to spoil it.
No, we do have a space at the Vintage Show, the Modernism show.
Yeah.
Where we'll be conducting some interviews there. So that I'm excited because it's a show that I did as a dealer 25 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Rosemary is a dear friend of mine.
Yeah.
And she jumped on board to support Claudia Bravado, and so I want to thank her, and we will be there to interview cool designers and the dealers, and we'll have Jean-Claude and Patrick, and so I'm very excited. I'm very excited because it's dear friends of mine, and I think that is going to be really fun.
Yes,
it'll be nice to be on the road again and try something new.
Yeah,
it'll be great.
We have it. I mean, it's been like 2 months since we've been on the road with Claudia Bravado. With
San Francisco. So it'll be a new experience.
A new experience.
And don't forget, it's check it out, Palm Springs Modernism week, and it's a fun weekend.
It starts February 12th or 13th.
13th, I think.
Yeah, February 13th. It's the 13th through the 23rd for the entire event.
So
yeah,
cool houses, cool show.
Yes.
Lots happening out there.
Oh, I forgot to plug the last thing. The last most important thing.
That's going to be fun.
The reason why I'm wearing a hat today, probably, I'm making a big change. I'm cutting off all my hair. I'm going to be working with Sally Hershberger, with the Salon, Sally Hershberger, and I'm going to change my hair. Now, I change my hair on this podcast quite a bit. I have like my natural hair out, or I'll style it, or I'll straighten it, or I'll braid it, or whatever. But I'm making a big change.
It's going to be a little bit more.
It's going to be a pretty big change. I am very excited about it. I haven't cut my hair in ages, and I'm so excited to have a really talented stylist with an eye to help me out with it. In the past, when I've decided to do a big change with my hair, I just kind of go to anybody. And I love that this time we're working with Sally Hershberger Salon.
So shout out to, well, actually, it's funny. It's a small world, but so Andy, who is the manager in LA, who is a very good friend who was here for our show, and I saw her, and so she was all excited to have you come over, and then her husband Robert is coming next week.
Yeah, we're gonna be recording with him next week. So, it's the beautiful network in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's design, it's fashion, it's beauty, it's everything all woven together, and I'm just so happy to be a part of it. But yes, if you've been watching this on YouTube or you've been watching this on Instagram, next week I'm gonna look a little different.
It's gonna be fun.
I'm so excited.
So
anyway,
stay tuned. Come back for that.
Yes, stay tuned for next week. We should get to our guest.
Yes, this one is.
I don't have enough words to talk about how much I love this person. He has been a huge inspiration to me. His story is incredible. He is so creative and just a profoundly, I'm going to say grounded again. He's a very centered, very determined, brilliant designer, Ron Woodson. Also one of my dearest friends now. I love him so much.
You got adopted by Ron.
I asked him to adopt me, and he said yes.
I don't think I need to add anything for people who know me and know Ron. They know how special this relationship is.
He's been your best friend for a very long time.
I love Ron.
Yeah. Well, we should get to him, shouldn't we?
Yep. Let's go.
Welcome to Clutter Bravado. We are here with Ron Woodson. How are you?
I'm great. How are you both?
I'm so good.
I'm so happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you here. So we've been waiting patiently to have you here because you are off in Lisbon.
Yes.
And you happen to be back in Los Angeles. I've heard a million stories about you. Our second guest that we had on our second guest that we had on the podcast is Jamie Rummerfield. So the two of you worked together for a very long time.
Very long time.
How
long? 18 years.
Wow.
But we still work together.
Yes, through Same Iconic Architecture. Yes.
And we're family. We'll always work together somehow.
Yeah. So tell me about how you got your start in Los Angeles as a designer.
Ooh, I'm going to give you the short of the long.
Okay. Go as long as you want.
So my first degree is in finance.
Really?
Little known fact.
Huh.
Yeah.
Very little.
Did you know that?
Huh?
Oh, okay.
Kind of a little bit of a brainiac on one side and creative on the other.
Oh.
But never used it. I was in corporate life for several years. I went into corporate life at 19. I had a economics professor who took a shine to me and got me my first corporate job at 19.
Wait, corporate as in what field?
I was in, it was a customs house broker.
Okay.
So I was in shipping.
Huh.
And worked my way up there, and they wanted me to stay, and that wasn't my jam.
Wonder why. I still see you in an office.
Right? At like 3:00, and I had a beautiful office. It was in Long Beach.
Oh.
And I'm a back up a bit.
Okay.
I'm a third generation Angelino.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, we love to see it.
So, but I had this beautiful office in Long Beach that overlooked the Queen Mary and down to San Pedro. And about 3:00 every day, I would just stare out the window because I would have gotten all the work that I was going to get done. And I'd be like, I want to be anywhere else but here. And I envisioned myself somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So that was always thrust upon me that I had to have my own business.
Your father was a musician, is that correct?
He was a jazz musician.
A jazz musician. What did he play?
He played the bass. Upright bass.
Okay.
Not acoustic. If you said that to him, he would crucify you.
Really?
Oh God, yeah. He was he was a purist. And my grandfather was also.
Oh, your grandfather was a musician.
Bass player also.
Do you play bass?
I play nothing. I play the stereo very, very well. Yeah. So, they wanted me to play piano, and I just every Saturday at 11 o'clock with Mrs. Vaughn.
Of course.
I hated that.
I had to take guitar lessons when I was in like the 3rd grade. I wanted to play the guitar so bad, and taking guitar lessons ruined the guitar for me. I didn't pick it up for another like 30 years.
Yeah. But now I wish I had stuck with it, because I wish I could like go to a party and somebody had a piano and I'd sit down and just like play.
Oh, I know nothing about that. I've never done that before.
No.
Oh.
Who wants to play? I will.
I like it. It's fun. Anyway, so coming from a really creative background.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I always had this creative side to me. Always, always, always. So as a kid, my mother would always indulge me. We would change our house around all the time, because my father was on the road a lot.
Yeah.
And that was our fun thing to do. And I would change my room around. My room never stayed the same for 6 months. And then I would take, as a young kid, I would take cardboard boxes and I would make cutouts. I would make large mansions. So they were models.
Yeah.
And then I would backlit them, and I would make furniture out of cardboard, and I would take fabric, if it was like old washcloths and stuff like that. I would make that would be the drapes, and I would hang them in the models. And I had a huge Hot Wheel collection. And I'd do, big circular driveway, and my Hot Wheels were lined up. So it was very early on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's... When you're a kid and you're doing that, you think that it's really just fun. Like, you don't really consider how much that might actually influence what you end up doing as an adult and the passions that you have.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me about your room when you were a kid. What was something that you, dreamed, your dream bedroom when you were a kid?
My bedroom was my dream bedroom.
It was.
It was immaculate. My father taught me how to make a bed properly.
Oh, yeah.
You could bounce a quarter off my bed all the time. It was always impeccably neat.
Are you still that way?
Yes.
Yes. I don't doubt that. I'm every time that I've seen you, you are put together in such a pristine way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so you had decided that you wanted to get out of the corporate world. You wanted to move into something more creative.
Yes. So I had a stint in between there. So push to have my own business, and I had this opportunity to own an auto transportation company.
Interesting.
Okay. And it was business for business sake. Really. There was no creativity to it. I was young. I was in my mid-20s, and it was really labor intensive. I had 40 employees.
Whoa.
All older than me.
Yeah.
I was the youngest one in the company. Yeah. And this opportunity came to me, and I said, well, I'll take it, and this will be a stepping stone to something else. And I had that for almost 7 years, but never really enjoyed it. But it was a stepping stone to other things. What it taught me was how to run my own business. It taught me how to deal with large numbers of people, employees. I never really enjoyed that, but I could do it.
Yeah.
Because when you have large numbers of employees like that, it takes you away from what you really want to do, and or your core business. And so closed that, sold it, and then I had a year to decide what was next in my life. And I said I wanted to do something creative, but didn't know what that was going to be. And I had my accountant at the time, who was one of my best friends, still is. And Larry said, because I've always believed in, if there was something I wanted to do, I would just put it out there to anybody who I thought would listen.
Okay, yeah.
And would give me advice.
Yeah.
You know, Laurent.
Do you still feel that way? Do you still do that?
Oh, Laurent has to hear it all the time. Yeah. Yeah. So I talked to friends and they were like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know, but I want to do something creative. And I had helped Larry with his house. And he said, oh, I have this client who has a design firm and it's primarily to the hospitality industry. He said, I don't know if you'd be interested in that. And I looked at him and like, duh. I helped you with your house.
Yeah, of course.
And he introduced me to Jack, and we hit it off right away. I said to him, look, I have been on my own for, at that point, 7 years, 7 years at that point. And I said, I have to have some ownership. And he was like, I don't have a problem with that. You can buy into the company. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, but what I want to do is I want to open an office in San Francisco.
Oh.
And I thought, okay, a change. That could work. And I moved to San Francisco. Thought we were going to have clients there. That was what I was told. We had no clients.
Yeah.
And I literally hit the ground running, getting clients, and built, in a pretty short time, I built a nice client base.
Nice, yeah.
Of which some of those clients I still have today, and that was near 30 years ago now.
Do you remember getting your first client? What was that like? How did that happen?
It happened through an antique dealer.
Really?
In San Francisco.
Okay.
Who turned out to be a crook. Yeah.
Whoa.
I didn't know
It was on me.
It wasn't you.
I'm like
it wasn't
staring
you.
like, ah.
It wasn't you, but you know who it was though. And he had this big, at the time, billionaire client.
Oh, wow.
And he said, oh, this client needs some help. And he introduced us, and we hit it off. And that was really the first big client that I had up there. And he and his wife were clients for 25 plus years.
That's amazing.
And then they got, unfortunately, they divorced. And I ended up more on the wife's side than the husband's side, but we're all still good friends. And then it just worked from there. Yeah. And I met this one when I was up there. So this was 1995, 96. I was there from 94 to 2001.
Okay.
And
so Laurent followed you down here is what you're saying.
That's exactly right.
He follows me everywhere. I can't get rid of him. He's like a bad penny.
Portugal, here I come.
He'll be in Portugal soon enough,
I'm like counting down. When are you coming? But yeah, it was a great experience. I had a great ride in San Francisco, but I wanted to come back here. I loved my clients up there, had some great projects, as I said. But but San Francisco just wasn't for me. My vibe was more LA.
Yeah.
And I came back here, and Jack wanted to take the business. He was ready to retire, and he wanted to take the business in a different direction. And I wanted to learn a bit more, so I went back to school. I enrolled into UCLA's design program.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I enrolled, and I had a friend who, and I had some clients here, and I had a friend who was a producer for HDTV, and he said, I want you to do this show. Mm-hmm. I was like, no, I'm not ready to do any show. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And he said, yes, you're ready to do this show. And it was called Designer's Challenge. Mm-hmm. And I did one episode, and they liked me so much they brought me back, and I ended up doing a half dozen episodes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That aired for more than a dozen years. Like, I had friends and family calling me and saying, oh, I saw you on TV. And I was like, no, you didn't. And they were like, yeah. And it was, they aired forever.
Wow.
I wish I had gotten residuals from that.
You didn't?
No.
That's crazy.
That's great. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You probably do. There's like a check out there somewhere for like 40 cents with your name on it.
But from that, it was great. From that, I started getting clients.
Okay.
And then I had to weigh, am I going to finish? Because design school was it was rigorous and tough.
Yeah.
And I had to weigh my option. Am I going to finish school, or am I going to take the clients? And I decided to take the clients and never looked back.
Okay.
And then a couple years later, I met Jamie. And her and I met through, it was odd how we met, because, this is before internet and all of that. And we had mutual friends, we had mutual vendors that we had, and all these people would say all the time, oh my God, you and Jamie are so much alike. And I'm like, who's Jamie? And they would say the same thing to her. And finally, I said, okay, I'm going to have a dinner party and have this Jamie over, because I have to finally meet her. Mm-hmm. And I had her over, and we started talking about what we wanted to do with our design firms, and it was so in sync. It was actually kind of scary.
Oh, wow.
That we had the same sensibilities. We wanted to do the same things. I'm a little bit older than her, but we still were on this same trajectory. Mm-hmm. And we decided, one of the big things was we had this overflow of furniture and accessories that, we can't pass up a deal or something pretty.
Yeah.
And so I had a ton of stuff. She had a ton of stuff. And I said, I need to open a store. And she said, yeah, me too.
Oh, wow.
And we opened a gallery on La Cienega. Mm-hmm. And we had that for 7 years. And we actually were, some people don't know this, but we were actually founding members of LCDQ.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys are so sneaky and behind the scenes. Like, actually, like moguls of the design industry in Los Angeles. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and this is when La Cienega was in its great heyday.
Yeah.
Blackman Cruz was on the street.
Yeah.
Downtown was across the street, was directly across the street from us. Mm-hmm. Patrick Dragonette was down the street from us. Yeah, it was a fun time.
Therian was there.
Yeah, Therian was next door to us.
Yeah.
And Philip was a good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And that's how we got our space. He said, there's a space next door to us that's vacant. You should take it.
Wow.
And he introduced us to the owners, and they liked us. And in another couple months, we were ripping it apart and made it our own.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
It was
cool in there.
cool. It was nice.
Yeah. Some
Yeah,
good
it
events.
was done like a house, and we had 3 rooms, and we had what we called our living room, and a dining room, and then a salon area, and then our design firm was upstairs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it grew and grew from that, and then we had to end up taking another space because at our height we had like 20 employees
Oh my gosh.
from between the design firm and the staff at the gallery. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was
That's-
good times.
Definitely.
It was good
Definitely. And so how was it balancing like having the showroom, having the store, and then also having so many clients? And granted, you have the two of you that are sort of mind
And that
melding at the same time.
that was the great thing because it was the two of us.
Okay.
And every 90 days we completely changed the showroom.
Really?
Like we changed the wallpaper, we changed the paint, a whole new theme came into the show. And some people would come into the showroom and buy a whole room. And we had
Wow.
to,
Yeah.
in a drop of the hat, we had to redo a whole room.
Wow.
And the living room was about the size of this one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was completely staged. It was completely furnished, accessorized, everything, lighting, everything. So it wasn't like a showroom with 48 chandeliers hanging from.
Yeah,
It was
of course.
so somebody would buy the chandelier. We had to have another one put up in the next hour.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It sounds just like, when you're a kid, like that's what you wanted to do. Like you were already redoing your bedroom, every few days. So now like every 90 days you have a whole new showroom, you have a whole
Right.
new house. That must have been really incredible for your creativity and to keep it
It
flowing.
was.
But what is something that you were tapping into in order to keep yourself creative in that way?
Well, it was our own incubator.
Okay.
So Jamie and I could do whatever we wanted.
Yeah.
And that was the fun part. Is we'd come up with a theme. I remember one theme was James Bond.
Oh, yes.
And we had
amazing.
we had a sofa and we upholstered it in Paul Smith pinstripe fabric. It was super cool.
That's
I
right.
don't know if you remember that. It was cool. The room was all done in grays and browns, and it was cool.
Wow.
And then we would go, completely girly and feminine, and so we would come up with an idea,
yeah.
and a lot of times it would be because Jamie and I were invited to speak a lot, and we were brought to trade shows and High Point and all over, and so. And we were also members of the DLN, the Design Leadership Network. And so we traveled all over the world with that. And we would go places and we would be inspired by things. And we'd go, ooh, that should be the next iteration in the showroom. Let's do this. And sometimes we would be on a plane and her and I both like to draw. And her drawing is amazing. And we would draw things and go, oh, that's what we're going to do in the showroom.
Wow.
Yeah. It would be as simple as that sometimes.
So when I want to go back to you talking about like going around and speaking and sharing your experience, what were some things that were sort of like your main points when you were speaking then as opposed to now?
It was funny. We were always asked, and I was always asked, even now, I always tell people, don't ask me that question. Certain people ask this question. They would say, oh, what do you think the next trend is? Don't ask me that question. I don't follow trends.
Yeah.
I don't like that word. I don't do trends.
Yeah.
If you look at the breadth of my work, it is timeless, with a bit of an edge to it. A little bit of nod to the future, always a nod to the past. But that's not a trend.
Yeah.
And I don't follow trends.
Yeah.
Ever. I've never followed trends.
That's something that because there are articles out always talking about what is the newest trend and like this is what's really hot for 2024, 2025. And I think in the home, if you're really investing in creating the home that you want, that's with really high quality furniture and is really thoughtful and is really conceptual and really put together. It's not something that's just going to be hot for right now and that you're going to want to replace.
And
by
why do
next
you
year.
want to
like,
have
why,
it look
yeah.
like everybody's house up and down the street?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you want it to be something that's personal and something that's really you. And I feel like even in your showroom, you had the opportunity to turn things over really quickly, but you were doing something based on an idea that you had, not based on like what everyone else is doing.
Right.
But I feel like being an innovator in that way, people are following you and seeing that as a trend.
Right.
Maybe wanting to all of a sudden have a pinstripe couch, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
That, you know, you're not thinking about the trend, but you're thinking about like what it's actually saying and what the purpose is. And I think that there's so much, there's a lot of gravity to that. And I really admire that for sure.
Yes.
So speaking of timelessness, you are a big member of the board and Save Iconic Architecture. Co-founder,
Yes,
is that
I'm
what
co-founder.
it is? Co-founder. And we've talked to Jamie like quite a bit about her experience, but I'm really curious about yours. What really inspired you to get behind Save Iconic Architecture?
So I'll go back again to my childhood. So my dad worked for many years in a trio that, and this was in the 60s and 70s, and he even did it in probably the 50s, where people in really super grand homes would hire a band. You didn't have a DJ. You'd hire a band, probably a quartet, sometimes a singer. And Doris Duke would hire this trio that my dad was in. And at the time, you know, she was the richest woman in the world. And she had these beautiful homes. And when I was a kid, my father would take me to rehearsals. So I got to run around in these amazing homes. And these people would just indulge me. They like let me run the halls of their houses.
Yeah.
So when my mother was pregnant with me, Doris Duke asked my father, she said, when your wife has the baby, let me know what you have. I want to get you something. And she had a custom-made Christian Dior christening suit made for me because she liked my father so much.
Oh, wow.
So cut forward, again, he would, you know, I was 4, 5, 6 years old, and I got to go with him to these rehearsals. And I was always really well behaved. So, you know, I would go and they would rehearse and I would just sit and watch. I wasn't breaking anything or running amok. And so they could take me anywhere because I was like a little adult. And so I had this childhood that most kids didn't have. I got to experience this grandeur that I soaked up like a sponge. And I'd go in these houses and I'd go, wow, one day. That was where it started. So I always knew what good architecture was from a very early age. And so when Jamie and I were together, we had the opportunity, we had some big name clients and who could afford these amazing homes. And we were finding that some of them would say to us, oh, we bought this Wallace Neff, but it's not big enough. So we're going to tear it down. And her and I would look at one another and go, oh,
Yeah.
you can't do that.
You can't do
You know,
that.
we
Yeah.
would, in our heads, we were
Yeah.
thinking, and then we'd get in the car and we'd go, can you believe that?
Yeah.
And this was happening over and over and over. And we finally said, somebody's got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple of instances where it was just so egregious.
Mm-hmm.
One in particular that really was the catalyst was the Jim Backus estate. And Jim Backus was Mr. Howell on Gilligan's Island.
Oh, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he had this beautiful home in Bel Air. And these people bought it, and we still had the showroom then. And so that was the other thing about the showroom,
Mm-hmm.
was, just to backtrack a little bit, we thought, oh, we're going to get these great clients
Mm-hmm.
who are going to go up and down La Cienega, and they're going to come into our studio and our gallery and say, oh, I'm going to hire you. And we had a big screen TV that had a loop of our projects.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So if
Yeah.
when you came into the showroom, you had a
Yeah.
beautiful space, but you also saw our work.
Mm-hmm.
And this family came into our showroom, and that's how they found us. And we didn't get past the foyer. And the wife said, well, we just bought the house, but it's too small. We're going to tear it down. And Jamie and I, in unison, we couldn't help ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We were like, you can't tear this house
Mm-hmm.
down. And she kind of looked at us like, I can do whatever I want. It's my house.
Oh, yeah.
And her and I were just checked out at that
Mm-hmm.
point. We did the whole walkthrough, but we thought, we're not working with these people.
Yeah.
And it had beautiful, mature gardens. The Backuses had meticulously had these grounds. Landscape architects do these grounds, just beautiful. And she said, oh, we're going to rip all that out and put a Zen garden in. And it was just like one thing after another. And like my head was about to explode.
Oh, wow.
And we left there, and we just were so enraged.
Mm-hmm.
The second situation, which really was the start of SIA, was we had another client, great client, who wanted a double lot in Beverly Hills. And we were working with this architect, and she said, I want to show you a property. It's a double lot. And we were in the car with her. Mm-hmm. And she said, but there's this old crappy Neutra on it.
Yes, Jamie shared this story. Oh, my gosh.
And Jamie and I, in the car, were like, wait.
This old
First
crappy
of all,
Neutra.
There's no old crappy Neutra.
What are you talking about?
Right, right. And so, we zipped it, but, we're still. And we got up to the house, and it was the Chewy house. Mm-hmm. And the owners at that time wanted to sell it as a teardown. And we started on this path of trying to find somebody to buy it.
Yeah.
So we literally left there, and we were on the phone, with potential clients or clients that we had who could afford at that time. I think they were asking like $14 million for it or something like that. We set out to figure out how to save it. And we reached out to the LA Conservancy, and Linda Dishman, who was the CEO at the time, she said, look, we don't have bandwidth right now, but I can show you, I can teach you how to landmark a property. And she said that would save it. Mm-hmm. And we were like, okay. And she literally taught us.
Wow.
And that was the start. And so we said, okay, now next thing, we've got to form a nonprofit. And we did that all the while, same time of having design clients. And, you know, that was we were crime fighters by night, saving architecture in LA. And that was the start of it.
Wow.
And that took a couple of years, actually.
Okay.
And then we had an architect who unfortunately just passed away, who was prolific in this town, Tim Campbell. And Tim, we had reached out to Tim early on about it. And he said, yeah, he knew about that it was for sale. And then he called us and said, I have some news for you guys. One of my clients bought the Chewy house, and we're going to save it. We're going to do a mindful addition to it also. And we were happy about that. And at that point, that was 2016. And at that point, we had started the nonprofit, and what did we save next? We saved another one after that. I can't remember what we saved after that. But we were off and running.
Yeah.
And here we are today.
And what I love is that both you and Jamie are also living that part, in the sense that Jamie lives in a wonderful mid-century.
Yes.
You had a wonderful home in Silver Lake that you preserved. I mean, it's, you know, you walk the walk.
Yeah.
And your passion for both of you, the passion for LA is palpable. It's really neat.
Yeah.
So we had the opportunity to talk over the weekend. You had a dinner party, and Jamie and you were both here, and a topic of conversation landed on the building that we're in. So the Talmadge building in Koreatown, and that this building, now you're thinking about maybe trying to landmark it.
Yes.
Yes?
We've talked about it for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how long have you lived here in this building?
Well, the
So it's
first
been
time
that-
we came here was on the 5th floor, but that was in 2009 or something like that. But we've been back since 2016, since you started.
Right.
SIA,
So from the very beginning of SIA, this was on our radar. Because we had been coming here for so many years to Laurent's house, and I always thought, and it's always been like this. You lived in 3 units?
We've lived in 3 units, yeah. Yeah, we lived. So when we first moved with Kimberly, it was on the 5th floor.
Right.
And we had redone that place. Then we moved out, and when we moved back, it was on the 4th floor. And then we had the opportunity to redo this one, which is quite fantastic for events.
Yes. They all have
Showroom.
been.
Yeah.
I'm here at the drop of a hat. I'm always here. I'm a permanent fixture here. Yes.
I mean, it really is such a joy to be able to work here and to be able to come here to get things done. There's something that's like very peaceful and lovely about this building. Jamie is convinced there are ghosts here, though, and I love that part of the historic building.
Right.
There's stories that happened here. There are things that happened here. There are people who lived here who left their energy in the floors and the walls. And I feel like that's something that a lot of buildings in Los Angeles have. And when someone can walk into a space like that and be like, yeah, but I would prefer that it was brand new and I just want to knock it all down.
Right.
It feels like, because when you go to Europe, and like now you're in Lisbon, we'll definitely shift to that. But when you're in Europe, there are these buildings that have been there for centuries. And there's so much history in them
That you wouldn't think.
And here in Los Angeles,
begin to think of tearing down.
Yeah.
Like it wouldn't cross anyone's mind.
No one would consider that.
No. And
here in Los Angeles, when we do have these like beautiful pieces of architecture that are historical monuments, there's like this concept of like ownership and the freedom of, well, it's mine, so I can do whatever I want with it. And it does contribute to the loss of culture.
Right.
And the loss of heritage that we have here.
Exactly.
So I want to talk more about you being in Lisbon.
I want to back up.
Oh, yeah, please.
One other story, our ghostly stories.
Yes.
So we also did a showcase house at Greystone.
Yes.
And just an interesting story, just how Jamie and I channel being in spaces like this, old spaces. We designed Mrs. Doheny's bedroom. And, we do the room, and Jamie and I were also chairs. We were the chairman and chairwoman of the showcase house that year. And so we were there a lot. And we did the opening party and all of that. We designed all of that. It was the gala opening night. And these women came into the room, and one of our employees was in the room, and these women sat down, and one of them started crying. And Jamie and I weren't there, and I happened to come in the room, and they introduced us, and she was the granddaughter of Lucy Doheny. And she said, and we had never seen these photos. She said, "You channeled this room exactly like my grandmother had it." So we did a mural behind the bed.
Yeah.
We positioned the bed where her grandmother had it.
Wow.
And she got us photos. She got the Rangers to find photos of how and it literally was exactly like, and we had never seen those photos.
No way.
It was a little eerie.
Wow, that is eerie. But you are in touch with that.
Yeah.
Los Angeles history is like in your blood.
Right.
Like you're third generation Los Angeles. Like you're here.
Yeah.
And it's in you, and it's beautiful that you get to carry that with you.
Yeah.
Jimmy
So that
on Saturday-
feeling,
Jimmy on Saturday was like, Norma Talmadge was talking to her.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
Her and that earring.
Yeah.
That Jamie lost an earring at the dinner party and was convinced
It was a
that Norma
ghost.
Talmadge took it.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that she didn't.
Me either, but I did find it. She brought it back. At least she brought it
At
back.
least she brought it back. So you have Los Angeles in your blood, but now you are in Portugal. So what did the
Yes.
transition to moving out there look like for you?
So, I have all of these European friends. And even as a kid, I'd always wanted to live in Europe. I always had this European vibe to me. Traveled a lot, even as a kid. I mean, I had a passport. I don't ever remember not having a passport.
Oh, wow.
And so I was always inspired by what I saw in Europe. And sort of my personal sensibility, the way I dress and that kind of thing, was always more European than American.
No.
Maybe just a little
Maybe
bit.
just a little bit. It's funny how like you tiptoe around that thing, like in a way that I'm like, no, you sure? Please tiptoe.
Well,
some
maybe
more.
half my closet is
Right.
European brands. And so always knew that I would have a toe in some part of Europe.
Yeah.
Didn't know where or when, but I always thought it would be London.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I me and Savile Row. It's like, yeah. Me and Aston Martin and Savile Row. I mean, that's...
That makes sense for you,
Yeah.
actually.
And
can
then, I reached a certain age where I wanted to slow down a bit. And the opportunity presented itself for Portugal. And it's a lot slower pace than here, but there's a lot of similarities. So
Really?
in Lisbon, so the weather is very much the same.
Okay.
People are super friendly. It's super safe.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I'm 2 hours away from everything that I want to see and be at in Europe.
Yeah.
So, you know, in September I was in Paris. August I was in London. October I was in Morocco. And just these are
Yeah.
all in my backyard.
It's a really quick flight. Yeah.
It's a quick flight. And so I'm really thrilled with that. But
Feels
at the
like you're
same
living your
time,
dream.
I am living the dream.
Yeah.
I'm living the dream that I've always wanted, because I still have my foothold here.
Yeah.
So I'll never be like some of my friends that are in Lisbon, and I have a nice community of friends, some of which are from here, New York, some Europeans. Some have no desire to come back to the States at all. And, you know, LA will always be home.
Yeah.
We've kept a place here, left a car here. But Portugal right now is home. It's my primary home, and this is my secondary
I'm
home.
envious. I'm envious of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're probably not the only one listening to the podcast, and some people must be like, oh.
No, it's really inspiring because from all the things that you are doing, what I'm picking up most is that when you have an idea and there's something that you want and something that you want to do, you make that happen.
Yes.
And we've had a handful of guests on here that have really been like exemplified that. And you know, I don't know about you, but I kind of grew up with the mindset that like, well, certain dreams are for some people. And I didn't, it took me a while to really allow myself to believe that anything that I wanted was really possible.
See, and I'm just the opposite.
Really?
Because my parents and family pushed me that anything you wanted, if you work hard enough for it, you could have it. So, you know, sometimes when people say to me, even with Lisbon, they're like, "Oh, I couldn't imagine doing what you did." And I'm like, I could.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just a matter of time and when and how it was going to happen. And I've always been the type of person when I say I'm going to do something, you can rest assured I'm going to do it. And vice versa. If I say I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it.
I really like that. You always hear the first half, you don't usually hear the second half,
Right?
but that is just as important.
Right?
Yes,
So,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
if someone calls me and says, "Ron, can you help me with this or that?" And if I say yes, I'm there for you. If I say no, then I'm not going to change my mind.
No, exactly. Yeah. You're not going to sway me. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I'm also the type of person that when I say I'm going to do something, I do that thing.
Yeah.
And it's led me down a lot of different paths because there are a lot of things that I've said like, yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I want to try that. But that's exactly how this podcast like came to be.
Right.
You know, that's how I like landed in this spot where now I'm, you know, there are new opportunities that are happening every day because of the people that I'm opening myself up to and connecting with, and especially with you. I just love you so much. Oh, I'm so glad that I finally gotten to meet you.
Yes.
But there are 3 questions that we ask all of our guests that I have to get to.
Okay.
The first one, I think I already know the answer to, but
Not even his glove box.
I know. I'm like trying to think. I don't think there's anything. What is the messiest place in your home?
Maybe Tom's glove box.
Even Tom. I don't think so.
Messiest place in the house. I don't have a messy place now in Lisbon because that's all sort of new.
Yeah.
I think I have like a junk drawer
Okay.
that like,
A single drawer.
maybe
you
that
put
I've
some
like,
stuff in.
you know, that I've throw things in.
Maybe.
Maybe.
He's like, I can't say.
I can't imagine. I
Yeah,
don't
he's
think
like,
that I
can't
do,
be
but
like,
it's possible.
No, I don't have one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think it's
Yeah.
a drawer. I kind of
Okay.
ancillary things
Yeah.
that I throw in, and I'll
Yeah.
get back to it.
But otherwise, everything is pristine.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm of the mind everything has to be in its place.
Yeah.
So that when you go to get it, it's in its
there.
place.
Exactly.
I like my clothes and my shoes and bags and like everything lined up and
yes.
neatly placed,
Everything where
so
it
that
goes.
and I have like a steel trap mind, so I know where everything is. So I can close my eyes, and it's been for the first time it's been a little difficult being on two sides of the world.
Yeah.
Because even coming back this trip, I was like, wait a minute, that black jacket, is that in LA or is that? So that
Yeah.
for the first time and then when I got back, because I hadn't been back in like 8 months, I was like, oh, I forgot about this jacket was here. I thought it was so, but it was in its place here.
I love that. I think, okay, here. So what I'm hearing is the answer is you don't have one. And that's okay.
Just own it.
Just own it. That's great. That's great. Okay. Second question. What is your favorite space either in your home here or your home in Lisbon?
Favorite space in Lisbon would be the living room, dining room. The apartment it's not that large. It's 1,400 square feet. But the living room and dining room are a combination. And I like to entertain. And so already I've had like great dinner parties and
It's fun. Huh? It's very European, but it makes it really fun to have those open. I like those that layout.
yeah.
The layout. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It creates an open space that's
Right.
Yeah.
It's fun. And soon the apartment's almost done, but when it's completely done,
You have a
everybody
nice
will,
guest room?
I do.
Great.
I do.
Excellent. I will just be keeping that in mind for no particular reason.
Yes. So Laurent has helped several pieces that I took with me.
Really?
And I needed reupholstered. And so
That was fun to do
Yeah.
together.
So
I had a blast.
yeah.
Oh, that's great. Okay. Moving on to our last question.
Last question.
When you walk into a space, and I think I want to specifically ask you when it comes to a piece of iconic architecture. So anywhere, any one of these like legendary houses. When you first walk into the space, what is the first thing that you notice?
Ooh. The first thing that I think of is the history of the property, like what happened, who lived there, how did the people live in the house, or if it's commercial space, how it was used. And then that sort of really informs me on how it should be saved.
Yeah.
Like what are the next steps
Yeah.
from that? Like hearkening back to what it was. And it's hard to describe, and people who don't have the creativity that I have and that we have as design creatives. People often ask me, God, Ron, how can you walk into a room and you just know how it should be designed? I don't know how to explain it. I just do.
Yeah.
It's like the way that I try to explain it is like my dad was a musician. He was also a studio musician, so he read music. I can't read music. There were certain artists that I would play that he did not like. Because he said, I keep hearing that same note over and over and over. But he heard the music. I don't hear that like that.
Okay.
So, but I can walk into a room and know exactly how it should be done.
Wow.
And I don't know how to explain that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, I mean, if I may, at least for me, I think it's, and that's what I talk to. It is a lot. It's about educating your eye. So it's, you know, from the get-go, you know, all that background of being in, you know, in homes, you know, in the 70s when you were a kid, and, you know, all that accumulates, I think. And it's, you know, like a musician. I mean, where, you know, it's the playing and it's the playing and playing again. For us, it's looking at things, going to houses, thinking about it, and living and breathing it. Because, you know, for the last 30 years, we've lived and breathed that thing every day. I mean, there's not, you know, there's not a moment that we don't think about furniture, fabric, colors, or we don't talk about, you know, we had dinner, just Ron and I, last week, and we spent 3 hours brainstorming and talking about, you know, about that. So I think that there's, you know, and that's the, you know, seeing things too. I mean, it's like the amount of museums or, you know, the traveling for sure. So it's just a bunch of experiences that at some point, if you're, you have to be passionate about it. But if you're passionate about it, it just comes to you as an intuition. But it's also years of experience, I think.
Yeah.
And the passion of being in this field. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. Yeah. I don't know any other way to. I mean, it's funny because very good. One of my best friends, and we travel together, and he's insane. You've met Peter.
Yes, he is. I love him so much.
So we have two other friends, and they had a house in Palm Springs.
Okay.
And they said, you know, you guys can use the house for the weekend. And we went to Palm Springs, and I walked in their house, and I sat down. And I hadn't sat down for an hour, and my skin was crawling. I was like, I've got to rearrange this house. I'm not going to be able to stay here.
Oh, wow.
With this house like this. And I looked at Peter and I said, we have to rearrange this house. And he was like, yeah. And we set out and we changed every room in the house, and we left it.
Yeah.
And we didn't tell them, and they came like the next week, and they were like, oh my God, you guys changed the house. It looked so good. Thank you.
That's really lucky. Yeah.
But it was like, we didn't tell them that it was ugly. We didn't say that, but it was just like, I mean, they had nice things. It was just like, it was just all placed wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just, that kind of thing, it's hard to explain. It just, I can't live in or be in a space that is
it makes sense.
Not cohesive.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
You can come to my apartment. I could use your help. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I've had it's been a pleasure to have you here today, but just in the time that I've gotten to spend with you, everything that everyone is talking about, whenever people refer to you all the time and talk about you all the time. So it's kind of like having a living legend on the couch, and I'm really grateful for that.
Oh my God. Thank you.
I'm
honored.
Thank you for joining us. And
thank you for having me.
What do you have coming up?
Well, there's a big project that I'm doing in Africa. Actually, is a safari lodge.
Stop it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the next big thing.
Where in Africa?
Kenya.
Really?
Masai Mara.
No way.
So I'm excited about that.
And you definitely need help. And I'm definitely going there.
Right?
I will absolutely be all hands on deck.
Yeah.
I am there.
Yeah.
I am there.
I'm
That's
excited
amazing.
about that. Yeah. So that's, and I'm doing the entire lodge. Yeah.
Okay, great. We will be there.
Yeah.
We're gonna bring the podcast there.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
The most expensive podcast ever, but
It'll be worth it. It'll be worth it. Oh my god.
And then you have
that's
to you have to come do a podcast in Lisbon.
in Lisbon. Uh-oh. Sounds like I have to.
Yeah.
Got to use that guest room.
That's something else that I want to do.
Yeah.
As far as the future goes. I want to do some type of show. I'm putting it out there. That has to do with travel and design and lifestyle.
Let's do it.
Of some sort.
Or you can do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Great. Let's do it.
Yeah.
See how there you go. There again.
See?
An idea just was born in real time.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're going to talk. But first, we're going to have lunch. Laurent has made
Ron,
an incredible
thank
lunch
you
for
very,
us.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so
I
much.
love you too. And you. Yeah.
Okay.